I don't care what anyone says about this. That Stranger Things finale, that absolutely broke me to the core. And I loved every second of it. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Adam Kennedy Show with your boy, The Ref. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We talk TV, movies, sports, video games, comics. But with that said, let's get into this Stranger Things finale. I know it released December 31st, but we are here. We are only talking about the last episode. I'm not talking about volume 1 and 2. We're talking about this 2-hour finale. Just giving my thoughts on it and breakdown and just what I thought of it in general. So let's get into it. I just need to set the record straight and say this right away. I cried a lot. Listen, I'm not just like it was one tear or I got choked up. No, I think, bro, I cried at least 10 plus times during this 2-hour finale. Like, if you watch this and you've been watching Stranger Things from season 1 up until this last episode and you didn't cry, that means you weren't invested. But if you were invested and you watched it all the way from here to there, oh, you definitely cried. And I don't care what anybody says. You know, if something's good and it's emotional, you're attached to it, you're invested in it, you're going to cry, and I don't care. You can say what you want. Yeah, I cried. Ooh, boy. I know my daughter cried. We were in separate rooms watching it. Bro, I don't think I went for more than like probably 5 minutes at a time without some emotional happening. So it's like I said, when you watch this show from the time it was created till the end and you get invested, you watch these characters grow, you just watch everything, you're invested in it. Of course, it's going to hit you different, right? It's just like, damn, it's emotional. You thinking people are going to die, and this is just the last time. This is the finale, and it felt like it was a goodbye because you knew it was coming to an end. You didn't want it to come to an end. But that's how it is. That's how it usually goes. Shows gotta end, and it's very emotional. It's very fucking emotional. But I want to break down what makes this episode work. And the fight doesn't feel just like one moment. It just didn't feel like, oh, they just fought the Mind Flayer and 11 fought Vecna inside Dimension X. No, it felt like a slow burn war. And let me tell you what I mean by that, right? Because the moment the fight starts is, you could say maybe it starts when Max takes 11 and 8 through Vecna's mind to get to Henry's house, right? When they take that shortcut, right? They have to use a shortcut because they have to get there before, so the rest of the crew can stop Dimension X from colliding, so the rest of the crew can get up to Dimension X, okay? The fight starts the moment 11 breaks Henry's grip from the kids, because that keeps the world coming down from too far so the rest of the crew can get up to Dimension X. So the moment in time where that fight starts is where 11 throws Henry out of the house and breaks the grip on the kids. That is the moment the fight started. It didn't start when they started fighting the Mind Flayer in Dimension X. No, that was the one big final battle. But in wars, there's small battles before you get to the final one. And that's when the fight started. Kids were fighting and trying to escape. 11 and 8 and Max were trying to fight Vecna inside Henry's memories, right? And then the rest of the crew was trying to get to Dimension X to find the Mind Flayer and find out where the rest of the kids are and find out where Vecna's actual Henry body is, right? So, like I said, when 11 uses her power and throws Henry out the house and those kids get disconnected from Henry's grip, that's the first domino to fall. That is when the war truly begins. That's when the fight begins, right? And then at the same time, you got Vecna doing something like, oh, he's like, I'm not going to be dealing with this shit. So what does he do? He goes in the real world where Hopper is protecting 11 inside the tank because she's in Henry's mind. So he's like, fuck this shit. Where the fuck is she at? Well, I'm going to go fuck with Hopper emotionally. I'm like, God damn. That was another emotional scene. Like, you making Hopper relive his moments of his daughter dying and telling him he's not going to be able to save 11. And so he's fucking with his mind and making him pull out his gun and want to shoot Vecna, and he just digs into his fear and his guilt that he's just gonna let 11 die. And he's like, "Fuck you," and he shoots him. Bop bop, and you're like, But then you see where the bullets went. They went to the fucking tank. They went to the fucking tank, and you're like, and then you see blood, and then you're like, what the fuck? Did he just shoot 11? Bro, I was like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? He breaks the fucking tank open, and then they're inside like Henry's memory, and they're like, that there's something wrong. That's not the signal. That's something's definitely wrong. So he finally breaks the glass open because he sees the blood, which is just an illusion from Vecna that's playing mind games with him, and then he finally sees 11. It's like, wait, what? And she's like, what did you do? So it's like, bro, there's a mental fight, there's physical fights. It's mental and physical in this fight, right? And then when that happens, that gives Vecna and aka / Henry to go back in his memory and find these damn kids so he can finish his plan that him and the Mind Flayer have, which is to merge the fucking worlds together. So there's that, right? And then you get back into even before that particular part happened, you're inside Vecna's mind before he starts chasing the kids, and then he goes and fucking attacks Hopper emotionally. Before that, you as soon as the kids get broken free and Henry comes back in the house, the kids are gone, supposedly. But because before that, the kids were like, oh no, it's Max, she's the monster. And then like Holly and like Delightful Derek. I'm not gonna call him dipshit. He just needed to be dipshit when he needed to be to help the team. But they're telling the kids like, I'm not the monster. And they were like, we can prove it. So this one I thought this was smooth as fucking. I thought this was great. The way he comes back, he wakes up from getting thrown by 11. He comes back in the house. 11's there, and they're talking, and we're like, it's over. The kids are gone. Blah 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 blah. Right. But then the camera pans to the other side of the living room, and there's like an invisible wall that 8 is making happen, and they're able to see Henry turn into Vecna, and they were like, oh, that's the monster, right? And then they had the plan to where they were going to try to stab him, but Henry's too smart for that shit. That shit didn't work. So then the kids had to run to the fucking cave, and then that is when Vecna or Henry, Mr. What's-It, they're all three the same fucking person, decide to go fuck with Hopper and be like, I gotta get 11 and fucking 8 and Max out of this fucking memory so I can fucking go. But like I said, I thought that scene was brilliant. The strategy was brilliant, showing the kids who fucking Mr. What's-It, Henry, really was the monster this whole time, right? And then after he goes and fucks with fucking Hopper, right? He goes into he comes back because he does that, and then 11, 8, and Max are gone from that memory, so they're out. Boom. They're like, fuck, we gotta find another way to do this. But after he goes back, he sees the kids go in the cave, and he's like, fuck, I don't want to go in here. But then he steps foot in there, and then Holly realizes she takes the kids down to the fucking trap door it's a fucking trap door that falls down to the ground, and that's where she was able to escape with her and Max earlier in the episode before that, in volume 2. But you see that, like parts of that, now you finally see Henry's origin story, right? You see that scientist down there, and you see like what happened. Like earlier we had saw that scientist was trying to shoot Henry because he was like, who sent you? He was like, I just heard somebody screaming. The kid Henry I just heard somebody screaming, right? And then you've seen the part where he pulls out the gun, tries to shoot him, and then Henry's like, pop, 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 right? And then now in this episode, you see him open the briefcase. She's like, what's in that fucking briefcase? But finally, in the finale, you see him open the briefcase, and it's like this fucking glowing fucking extraterrestrial fucking from another planet shit. He fucking latches onto him, and it's like, and then and then that scientist wakes up and be like, don't let it control you. And then that's when it controls him, snatches that motherfucker's eyes. I was like, God damn. And then as that's happening, the kids are trying to escape. But then that's when Will tries to get inside Henry's mind and let him know, don't let this shit control you. You're letting it control you. It's not your fault, right? And in that moment, you're thinking, okay, here it is. Here's your chance, Henry. Here's your chance to let go. And what happens? I don't want to let go. I like it. This world is cruel and unusual, and we're gonna make it better. I'm like, okay, well, fuck him. He's got to go. He's got to go. Got to go. I'm sorry. You had your chance at redemption, and you fucked it up. Will tried to fucking reason with you, and he said, fuck that shit. And it's like, oh, fuck. We're in for the end game now, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, he chose this. He chose this. He didn't want to fucking, he wanted it. He wanted the power because he fucking enjoyed it. He fucking loved it. He didn't give a fuck, right? So there's that. That's part of that fucking war, and then you see the final where his origin story, basically, of how he got his powers and how it did control him as a little kid. He didn't really have no say over it. But as he got older, he could have controlled it if he wanted. He knew in that moment in time where Will told him, like, don't let it control you. He had a choice. He made his choice. He didn't fucking want it. He wanted that power. He wanted it because he liked it. Because when people get that power, they fucking like it. So there's that. But you reconvene back with the rest of the group. They basically reach Dimension X, right? They reach Dimension X. They get up in there. They're walking. You know, you have some emotional scenes in there where like Jonathan and Steve are talking, and you're just like, okay, because Steve, because you have Steve thanking Jonathan for saving his life of that moment of where the scene cut to black when they're on the radio tower and the Dimension X was still closing down and it hadn't stopped yet, and you thought, oh, fuck, here we go. Here we fucking go. So they're talking about that. I mean, there was that part that was emotional. I'm just like there is just so much emotional shit happening in this fucking episode. I just felt like it was just one big emotional episode of fucking shit. But eventually, once they get to Dimension X and they start walking because they have to find the hive mind wherever the kids are hidden or being kept, and where Vecna is, you know, part of the mind hive, right? So there's that, and there's also still 11, 8, and Hopper dealing with the military in the Upside Down, and then that whole thing where they play the siren so they can't use their power, and in the moment I was kind of fucked. I thought was kind of fucked up. They're both on the ground because they can't handle the sound, and Hopper just grabs 11 and leaves 8 there. I'm like, that's fucked up, bro. That was fucked up. I'm like, you could have put both of them on your shoulders, bro. You big enough to do that. But I thought that was fucked up. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm just like, that's kind of fucked up. No. Everybody wasn't fond of 8 because of what she was trying to do, but at the same time, that's kind of fucked up, bro. But he went back for it, and then that's when they got kind of caught, and then there was a struggle. The military, the old dude was gonna shoot 8, and if Hopper didn't tell him where 11 was, and 8's like, you just let him kill me. I was like, okay, maybe she's good. She might be good. Maybe we read her wrong. Struggle happens. She gets shot. 11 comes. She basically just kills every fucking military. She's like fucking pissed off. She pop. I'm like, oh boy. But then before that, dude blew up the helicopter with the fucking C4. So we gotta give him and his fucking flowers for doing that. I thought he was gonna jump off the roof because they made it seem like he was running, gonna jump off the roof, but then he threw the C4 and it got that fucking siren to stop, and then 11 was able to use her powers and fuck up the military. But then you realize fucking 8 died. It's like, fuck. But then this brings me directly to 11 getting to Dimension X when she sees an opening that like I can make these jumps, which if you go back and like watch volume 1 of this season finale, she's practicing on her jumps and trying to get things and things like that, and Hopper's like, no, and then she's like, no, you gotta let me do this. It's you gotta let me do me. And then he finally lets her, and then we switch back to Dimension X, and finally the rest of the group finds the mind flayer. They find the opening. They find where, this is where it's at, right? You got Steve, you got Nancy, you got Jonathan, you got Robin, you got Dustin, Mike, Lucas, Will, and you got Joyce, right? They're all on Dimension X at this point, trying to find the mind flayer, trying to find the mind hive, and they find it. And then they get there, and they see this motherfucker come alive. It looks like a fucking big, gigantic fucking alien spider. And they're like, how the fuck are we supposed to defeat this? And then that's when they come up with the plan is like, we got to go and hit it at different spots, right? We got to go hit it at different spots. But as that's happening, you see 11 come out of fucking nowhere, and then you just get this fucking shot of her facing off with the mind flare, and then all of a sudden she jumps, whoo, and she goes inside of it, and then that's when Vecna comes down and is like, okay, we're gonna fucking fight. But at the same time, you got the fight outside with the others that are trying to fucking beat this motherfucking mind flare. God knows how they're gonna do it, but they devise a plan where they're gonna hit it from all angles, up there on the cliff, over here, over there. But they needed a distraction, which Nancy becomes that distraction. And then she's just like, I'm going full fucking Rambo. Like, literally, Nancy became fucking Rambo. Really, if anything, she should join the fucking military. Really. But she literally became Rambo during this whole, like, throughout as it progresses, like, from season 1 to season 5, she became Rambo. She's like, I need flamethrowers, I need guns, I need rope, I need this, I need that, because I'm ready for war. Nancy was ride or fucking die. You know what I'm saying? But she became the distraction, so she distracts the Mind Flayer. Mind Flayer chases her, and then you think she gets cornered into this like rock, and the Mind Flayer is getting there, and you just think, here it goes again. You about to kill off Nancy, and all of a sudden you see fucking flames, you see this, you see that, and everybody's attacking at key points. You got Dustin and Steve attacking this shit right here, and this goo coming out, and they're like, this is for fucking Eddie, and you're like, fuck yeah, and you got people with fucking flamethrowers just like hitting everywhere, and then you see the fight inside with Vecna, and every time it hits the Mind Flayer, it weakens Vecna, because it's all connected with the Mind Hive, right? And so it makes the battle easier for 11 inside the Mind Flayer that she's fighting Vecna, right? So we get to that part, and they're outside fighting that motherfucker, the Mind Flayer, the big ass motherfucker that's basically in charge, that's controlling Vecna in a way, trying to merge the world so the Mind Flayer can take over, right? But then it gets back into the fight with 11 and Vecna inside the Mind Flayer, right? And then they're going back and forth. She's using her power, he's using hers. I think he might be a little bit stronger than her in terms of like powers, but she's like holding her own at this time. She's like, I'm not holding back. I'm pissed the fuck off. You are fucking ruining all our lives, and I'm gonna fucking end you, motherfucker. But then Vecna, like I said, I think he's a little bit more powerful than 11, and so he has her right where he wants her, and then all of a sudden he does his little thing where all his fucking veins and arms stretches out, and it's about to fucking just claw into fucking 11's face. And all of a sudden, it just stops right there. It just stops. That fucking camera switches to fucking white eyes, and it's fucking Will. And you have that fucking moment of, fuck yeah, motherfucker. Will's fucking doing some shit again. Just like it was at the end of volume 1, where he's finally realized he can use powers. It's the same fucking moment. It was a beautiful fucking moment. And all of a sudden, he's like, and he's like fucking breaking Vecna's limbs, and then that gives the opening for 11 to fucking use her powers, and bam, he gets impaled on some fucking, I don't even know, fucking limb in the fucking side of the Mind Flayer. But that fucking moment right there when it switched and it showed his white eyes, and you're like, what the fuck's happening? And it switches to Will, and he's like, I was like, yes, fuck yeah. That was a moment, bro. That was a fucking moment. This whole fucking thing was emotional. It had fucking moments. Man, that fucking was like, I was like, fuck yes. Hit that motherfucker. Because moments like that fucking matter in shows, right? They fucking matter. They fucking matter in shows like that. You gotta have moments like that, and it fucking paid off. I fucking loved every bit of it, right? Just fucking Will. It's like, I'm fucking not taking this shit fucking lying down. You've here fucking killed my friends. You kidnap me, motherfucker. This is all this built up right now, and I'm gonna fucking end you. And then James and 11 fucking impale his ass. They fucking out there kicking the Mind Flayer's ass. Kill him. That weakens Vecna. Bam. Game. Set. Match. The crew from Hawkins. Right? And then we get to the point to where they get to free the kids. That shit leaves their mouth. They free them all. And they're all rejoining inside the Mind Flayer. And then you get to the moment and you see this motherfucker still breathing. I'm just like, why? This motherfucker is barely holding on, still breathing. And then you just see all this shit, right? You see him still breathing. You see these moments on all their faces, all the shit they've been through. You see Joyce grab that axe, and she just starts chopping. Anger, sadness, heartbreak. mad, any feeling in the book, and then just showing to everybody. And going back in like a little flashback of like all the fucking pain this motherfucker put us through. That shit had me emotional. That scene right there, fucking emotional. Bro, I'm telling you, I had watery eye, just straight crying. I was just like, I wasn't crying for Vecna. Fuck him. I didn't feel bad for him. He chose that. He had opportunity before that in the cave when Will tried to talk to him that don't let it control you. You can fight this. He didn't want to fight. So I didn't have no sympathy for Will at all. I mean, not Will, but Henry, Vecna, Mr. What's-It, adult version. Maybe he has sympathy for kid version because he really doesn't know. But as you get older, you can understand that, like, this may be a bad thing. And then somebody tries to make you understand, and you take it back to like, fuck, I was a kid, and this fucking happened, but I like this power. So fuck that. Joyce chopping that shit. They're showing flashbacks from shit that that Vecna put them through. And I cried. I felt their pain. I felt what everybody went through. And she chops off that fucking head, and it's over. The battle is over. The Mind Flayer's been defeated. The Vecna's gone. There ain't no more Demogorgons. It's just we're done. We're done. And I was like, I feel so satisfied. I feel so fucking satisfied about that outcome. I was like, fuck yeah. Nobody got it. Nobody died except 8, but she wasn't a main character, so that's okay. I'm just saying, you know, she did her thing, but she kind of sacrificed herself. She was like willing to sacrifice herself to not let 11 get caught. So that's commendable. But yeah, they're all rejoicing. They head back down to the Upside Down into the truck, which, come to think of it, I do want to mention this point. The Upside Down world wasn't as bad as it was made to be, because they were just using that as a way to get to the real world. Dimension X was where the real shit was bad. The Upside Down is it's just a version of your area, just upside down, all dark and dangerous, but there's nothing really, there's no monsters. The monsters came from Dimension X. I did want to mention that. We found that out in this last season. But like I said, they all get in the truck. They're all heading back to the real world through the Upside Down. They're all happy in the truck. They're all like, yes, we fucking got this. Let's fucking go. And then at my point, I'm thinking, they know they still got the military. Because they still got Max and Robin's girlfriend, right? They kind of kidnapped them when they found them hiding in the fucking the radio station. Like, right? So they get out of the fucking Upside Down. They get through the portal. And all of a sudden, as soon as they get through and go down that little ramp, here comes the fucking military. And I just remember thinking, this is where somebody's gonna get it. This is where it's going to happen. I'm not ready for this. Please don't make this a thing. They're pulling everybody out of the truck. They're like, this, don't fucking move. Don't fucking move. Don't fucking move. And then all of a sudden, Mike is like, where's 11? Everybody's like, where the fuck is 11? Where the fuck is Elle? Where's she at? And all of a sudden, we get to the motherfucking part. We get to this motherfucking part. I swear to God. Oh, this part had me. I think I lost it during this. But we get to the moment to where you see 11 standing at the entrance of the portal to the Upside Down. And you just see fucking wind blowing and just fucking ripping a fucking hole into the wormhole to outer space of nowhere. 11's just standing there and they're like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden she brings Mike inside her mind so she could tell him goodbye. They start talking and Mike's like, no, we can figure this out. No, we can figure this out. And she's like, I have to do this. You got to make him understand. Damn, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I ain't gonna lie. But she's like, you got to make them understand. They have their moment. Purple Rain starts playing. They kiss. And it's just like, that hurt. That hurt. That fucking hurt. That song Purple Rain start playing. They just start hugging and then they start kissing. It's just like, fuck. She's like, make them understand. And you're just like, I'm like in the fucking couch like, I'm getting emotional. Think about it. That was emotional. That wasn't even the most emotional scene. That was probably the most emotional scene of this episode. Yeah, that, and then she finally jumps. She throws him out of her mind, and then all of a sudden you just see it going, and then fucking collapses. Everything's gone. 11's gone. The Upside Down is gone. Dimension X is gone, and it's just like, that's it. The military is like, well, fuck. We just wanted her. We don't want y'all motherfuckers. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, hold on. Let me get a minute. That was the second most emotional scene. I haven't even got to the most emotional one yet. Exactly. But then some thoughts on this. Like, I know I still got to cover what happened like after that because there was still some stuff after that happened. But I gotta tell you, I walked into this finale fully expecting a death. Not like 8. No, I expected a main character death. Why? Because usually that's how TV shows go. Usually somebody they get axed, right? No pun intended to Vecna. But no, seriously, like you usually watch something with this long, this many years, this many seasons, and then something happens to where it's like maybe not a death, but it's just like the ending that it's like that could have been better or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like something's gonna happen that you're gonna be like, I don't fucking like this shit. Right? That's how usually TV works. But then nobody died. Right? Nobody died. Like that like at that point, once 11 was gone, the military was like, we have no use for y'all. That was basically the end of it. The rest of the episode is just showing what the future of what their plans are, what the future is. But like after that military thing and Elle basically sacrificed herself, that's when you realize, damn, nobody died. And I expected that shit. I did. I made a prediction. I was like, I think Mike was going to die. As my daughter was like, make a prediction who you think's going to die. Main character wise. I forgot who she put. But mine was Mike. And I was just like, I fully expect this to happen. Because why? Because this is the type of shit that happens. I know the Duffer Brothers, they had said that nobody was going to die. But of course they're going to say some shit like that. But when nobody died, that really surprised me. And I felt like it was refreshing. I felt like I kind of like this. This is new, right? They didn't go for the shock value. Like, easy, they could have killed somebody. They gave you moments of where motherfuckers could have died, and you're like, oh, like the Steve moment of almost falling off the radio tower, Nancy getting it. I know there was a moment where fucking Dustin almost got fucking stomped by the fucking mind flare. There was moments. You thought Elle got it early on. It was like, what the fuck? No, right? And like I said, they didn't go for the shock value. They went for closure. They went for closure, and I fucking, like, honestly, I fucking loved it, and I felt like it was refreshing, right? So we get through all that. You know nobody's gonna die. No, everybody's, I mean, basically, the only person that's dead that didn't make it is 11, which that's not a shock that she was gone or they killed her off. That wouldn't have been a shock. To me, that was like, okay, I can see that. Because she's the one that has powers, and then like 8 was telling her earlier on in episodes before this finale one that like you have to go, like they won't stop looking for you. So you kind of had that in your back pocket. You kind of had that in the feeling like that wouldn't have been a shock. She's dead. Okay, we get that. But like I was taking like more of the rest of the cast. Like Hopper wouldn't have been a shock if he would have got that. Like there was something to be like 11 and Hopper. Probably maybe Will. It wouldn't have been shocking if those 3 got it, but the rest, I'd be like, if Dustin or Lucas or Max, that's the shit she's been through. You know, Robin, Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, Joyce, like those, Mike. I think I said Lucas, but like those would have been shock. The 3 I named, I'd be like, I could kind of see that. Like, what was it? Elle, Hopper, bro. I had another one. Will. Since Will's been through so much and now he's got powers. Anytime you got powers, you are on that chopping block of being like, yeah, you could probably not survive. But we jump forward 18 months later. Life is continuing, and you're back in Hawkins. The town's trying to rebuild. Robin's on the radio station still, but she doesn't have her partner, Steve, to make all the funny sounds and be there for her, right? And it's just showing like a town that's trying to rebuild, and they're going with the story of like there was a big earthquake of why the town was unlocked. And then before we get to the fort, I remember seeing in the comments of people asking like, why would the military just let them go? Because the military wasn't after them. They were after 11, and they want their secrets to be kept. So they just be like, this is where we're going to say what happened. We're all going to go our separate ways. We don't talk about it. And then they're just going to say it was a big earthquake. The reason of why shit happened in Hawkins the way it did. So like the town's rebuilding. I mean, it shows different characters. It shows, Dustin taking pictures with his mom, getting ready for graduation. It shows Max and Lucas. They're getting ready for graduation. It shows Will taking pictures, getting ready for graduation. And then it fucking has Mike they get a phone call like, we can't find Mike. And then Hopper goes and finds him, and that's when he's at the memorial. He's sitting there. He's like, he just fucking sad because he's just looking at the memorial of all the people that died in the earthquake, right? Because that's the story they're gonna go with. And he's just like, I just don't want to celebrate. I don't want to graduate. I don't feel like it's right. It's not fair. But Hopper, talks to him, tells him what he needs to hear. He gives him that fatherly advice, right? Because they all know what they've been through, right? And he tells her that, and this is emotional too, because you feel for Mike. You feel like he doesn't. Everybody else gets their happy ending, but fucking Mike, right? And you feel for him, and it's like, damn, he don't get it, right? Fuck, damn, that hurts. But Hopper tells him like it is, and be like, she would want you to move on and live. She would want you to go graduate. So he gets up, he shows up at graduation with everybody else. Dustin is valedictorian. He gets on the mic. He gives his speech, and it's just fucking kick ass. He's like, fuck the system, fuck the school, fuck the way, telling the principal, fuck the way you do things. It's like, yo, and then he takes the shirt, he takes the fucking gown off. It's got a shirt that says Hellfire Club. And he's like, this one's for Eddie. And you're like, yeah, boy. And you're like, yeah. Fucking confetti shoots out. He flips the bird to the principal. I'm like, what are they going to do? Suspend him? That motherfucker graduate, go to college, bro. And then nigga fuck the fucking mind flare. You think he gives a fuck about this shit? Dustin a real one, bro. But you get that moment, and that was fucking cool. And then like they're talking after graduation, like they're his friends, like the crew's like, that was fucking awesome. And all of a sudden these girls come over here and they're like, that was a cool speech. And then he's like, what? They're fucking talking to us? They're fucking talking to me? The girls are talking to us. And he's like, oh fuck, I'm cool now. Let's fucking go. They invite them to a fucking graduation party. But then you hear the speakers, right? You hear the speakers. And like Mike is like having a trip out. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking at this moment when Mike is freaking out like something's gonna happen. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? He's thinking, he's like hearing the speakers, and he's like, is something about, I thought some shit was about to happen right in that moment. But then Mike is like, I got a better idea instead of going to a party, right? But I'll get to that part in a minute. But then we like get to I think it goes to the rooftop. I may be out of order. Let's just go with this in this order. And I'm gonna talk about when we get to that final D&D scene with the rest of the friend group. But I know like after Mike says, I got an idea, I believe it goes to the rooftop where you have Steve, Robin, Jonathan, and Nancy on the rooftop of the radio station drinking beer, reminiscing, because it's been 18 months. They've all gone and done their own thing. I know, I believe one of them was in New York. They're adulting. They're adulting right now. After shit's happened, they're just trying to live their life. I know Jonathan's trying to be a filmmaker. Fucking Steve is over here coaching Little League Baseball. And I think he is a PE teacher, which suits him. And he wants to have a big family. And Nancy left college, dropped out. Really, she should just go join the military. She should go join the fucking military. And you got Robin still working at the radio station because she's a voice. She's got a career. But they're all over there. It's getting fucking emotional. It really is. They're talking because you understand, like, you have friends that you grew up with. But then as you become adults, you really don't get together as much because you really have your own life. You may be living in different places. You got your own family. It's just hard to really get with friends. Really, your family becomes your friends. Like you hang out more with family than you do your friends. But they're just up there talking about life, having that beer, being adults, adulting. And then it gets emotional. That's when another emotional scene where it's like, I get what they got to fucking meet in Philadelphia at somebody's uncle's house. I think it was Robin. I want to say Robin's. Fuck, I think it was Robin's. Where they're gonna meet once a month and get together. And what the fuck? What is that? No. Right? They're gonna meet once a month and get together and do the thing, right? And so you'd be like, that's fucking awesome. Make that pact, keep that promise to meet. Right. And then they move to Joyce and Hopper they're like this fancy restaurant having a dinner. He proposed to her. He's like, what? Right? He proposes to her. She accepts, because he's like ordering like expensive food, wine. He's like, he proposes to her or whatever. And then he talks about like, what do you think about leaving Hawkins? because he got offered a new job, and she's like, "Fuck yeah, let's get the fuck out of here." And now you can't blame him. Life got to move forward. You can't. You stay there. You're just gonna have bad memories. Just move on out. We move on out. We're free to do whatever the fuck we want. We don't have to worry about Dimension X. We don't have to worry about Vecna, the Upside Down, the military. We're just take it and go that away, right? And then we have that. And then we get to what I think is just the most emotional scene in this episode. We get to the crew: Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Max, and Will. They're playing D&D. They're playing D&D downstairs in Mike's house. And they're playing, and everything feels normal. It really do. At that moment, it feels like they get to be some kid. They get to be kids for that moment. And they're playing. They're getting frustrated. Max is like, what the fuck? Because they're losing. Because Mike is... I don't know how D&D works, so please excuse my dumbness. I know there's like the game master that's telling the story and how it's supposed to go, and everybody else is trying to win. There's one person in charge, I think. I don't fucking know. I just know Max is fucking getting frustrated because I don't think when she joined the group, she was like really into D&D. But she's like, what the fuck? And she's kicking shit. Everybody else is like, what the fuck? Dustin's annoyed. Everybody's arguing. Lucas is like, really? Really? And then they're trying to find ways. And the whole game, it just felt normal. It felt like it did when they first showed the first episode and they're all downstairs, minus Max, playing D&D as kids, younger kids. And now they're all grown adults. But, it felt like old times. It felt normal. It felt safe. And they're just playing. And then all of a sudden, they get a second chance in their D&D game. And they're like, what the fuck? Yes, we found it. Fuck yeah. And they get this magic. I don't even remember what the fuck it was called because I don't play D&D. I've never played D&D. Maybe I should try to play D&D. Maybe somebody could come teach me how to play D&D. I know it's like, I don't know the rules or things or how it works, but I'll play a D&D campaign. Let's fucking go. But he gives him a second chance in the D&D game, and this is where the tone shifts, and he starts talking about this person that's gonna help you survive this D&D game, right? He starts telling the story, and as he's talking, they start realizing, is he talking about 11? And then as you're watching, you're really like, hold on, what the fuck? Hold on, wait a minute now, right? He starts talking. He tells a story about like, this person's not really dead. He doesn't say her name. He doesn't say 11, but we all figure it out. They all figure it out, and they're like, and they start getting teary-eyed. You start getting teary-eyed watching. He's telling the story. He starts putting 2 and 2 together, and then it flashes back to him listening to the fucking music at graduation, and then he realizes like, hold up. He starts telling the story in his theory, like, how was she able to use her powers if the military, when they fucking crashed her truck, how was she able to use their powers if they had their sirens going off? And you're like, wait, what? He's making sense, right? He's telling that story, he's telling this and that, and you're like, is she alive? Ooh. He starts telling like she was able to escape because she was in that fucking truck. She was sitting next to Mike, they were holding hands, they were happy, they're like, oh la la. All of a sudden, military comes, they start pulling everybody out of the truck, and all of a sudden 11's just gone. And you're thinking like, hold on, she can't use her powers if that sirens are going off. And then you remember seeing her up there in the fucking entranceway to the Upside Down, and then you realize, hold on, her nose ain't bleeding either, because anytime she uses her powers, her nose bleeds. And you're thinking like, hold on, what the fuck is going on? Is she about to appear? I thought she was going to appear downstairs and be like, oh, yes. But then you realize that the sister helped her invisibility, and she was able to escape through a door, through a hatch, and get out of Dodge. And the whole thing was an illusion. And then you think back like, hold on, that makes sense. Because remember, they made the invisible wall in Henry's house in his memory so the kids could see. I was like, damn. And then he says that the sister didn't really die when she got shot. She just faked that so they could keep it moving. And she used her powers to help create that illusion and help make 11 invisible and able for her to escape. And you're like, what the fuck? Bro, I remember watching that scene and then rewinding back after the whole episode was over to see if we could see that door open. You couldn't see it, and it's just like, it all makes sense now. But he tells that story, they all realize it, they all get teary-eyed, they all go around the table. He's like, I believe, and then each one of them say, I believe. I believe. I believe. And then the same breath, the same after the story, like he's telling after they say goodbye and they start walking away, he starts telling like each one by one of how they're living their life. Will's at the bar. No, he's at a bar that he's gonna find somebody that he can connect with, right? Because he likes the opposite sex. He likes the opposite sex. And it just shows them being able to do different things. But they all go around the table saying, I believe, which is in the they're crying. They've all lost it. I've lost it watching it. And like I said, the camera cuts to each one of them saying, I believe. They're all fucking just crying, bawling. At that moment, I'm just bawling with them. And then they all get up one by one. They put their books away one by one. They walk up because at that before that moment, Mike's mom calls him up. Dinner's ready. Hurry up. And it's like, we'll be up in a moment. Just like old times, right? But they get up one by one. They put their books away. Just put it away. And you realize at that moment in time that they're not crying because of the characters in the show. They're crying because of all the years they've been there and they've been doing this show and it's over. They grew up on that show. That's part of their childhood that's over. And they're putting that chapter to a close and they're losing it. That was more than just acting. That was like real emotion. As they each get up, put that book one by one away. They know once they walk up that stairs, this is done. It's a wrap. That's part of their childhood. That is over. That chapter in their life is over and they know it. And that was real emotion you saw on all their faces. And like I said, they put that book in one by. That's why this is like the most emotional scene in this fucking series, in this fucking episode. One by one, they put that book away. Mike's the last one to put his away. But at the same time, he's writing the story to keep the story alive, to keep Eleven's story alive. And like before that, he's telling him like Elle's like living on her own on some, different area, clear across the world, hopefully, where there's 2 waterfalls, right? I forgot to mention that part because it's so much emotional shit was happening, right? But Mike finally puts his book away. He starts walking up the steps. Here comes his sister and her friends coming to play D&D. And they're all sitting there like, blah, 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 you know how they used to be when they were playing D&D as kids. And he just looks and he gives that smile like, that's what it's about. And then it closes the black. And it's over. And you just like, and then I remember after that scene, like after it was over, the fucking music plays and the credits start rolling. I was an emotional wreck. I'm not gonna lie. I cried multiple times throughout this fucking episode. But right, I mean, after that happened, my daughter comes out of the room and she's like, I'm like, yeah. I was like, you see that? Did they all survive? And she's like, she was kind of shocked because she thought somebody was gonna die too. And like I said at the beginning, I thought that was the most beautiful ending to a show, and I feel like they got it right. But damn, it's just emotional. See, that's something I wouldn't want to go back and watch again because I don't need that in my life. Like it was very emotional. And it's like I've only watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever once, and that was at the movie theaters. I'm not watching that. If at the beginning of that just wrecks you. And then it's like, I don't need to watch this again and be wrecked. Like, sorry, I don't need that. I watched it. I watched it when it came out. 7 o'clock that night on New Year's Eve. I was an emotional wreck for those 2 hours. Those 2 hours. I was an emotional wreck after it because I'm just like, I don't know, fucking like 11 needs to be alive. I believe 11's alive. But yeah. But my final thoughts on this, as I get out of your hair, is I believe 11 is alive. Not just because I want her to be, because Mike's theory makes sense. If you look back, she can't use her powers when the sound's going off. And she would have had a nosebleed. So somebody else was helping her. It makes total sense. I believe she gets her freedom. Like I said, Mike doesn't get a happy ending, but he's alive. He gets to move forward. He knows 11's out there, free. Military no longer looking for her because they think she's dead. Mike has his memories. He's going to move on. Maybe later on they can reconnect, but you may be thinking like, why can't they right now? Here's my theory on why he can't go look for her. She can't be near them because here's my theory. I think the military might still be watching them. 1, to make sure they're keeping their secret of the shit that went on. And 2, they maybe be like, just in case she might be alive, let's keep an eye on them. eventually, once that lady, passes away, maybe the military no longer, maybe down the line, like 20 years down the line, maybe they can go look for each other. But right now, I think the military's got a close eye on them just in case they think she's dead, but they might keep an eye on everybody that was involved in what the fuck was going on in the secrets, and they want to make sure they keep the secret. So, like, right now, they can't be together, and that's okay because everybody's safe. She gets to be free. He still gets to go live his life. I know he doesn't get the love of his life. He's not the only one. He doesn't get like a truly happy ending, but he knows that she's safe, that she's alive, right? And then I think you find out after the episode aired that there's going to be a spinoff, and I believe it's going to be like a new cast, new characters, their own story is kind of going to be connected to the other to this version of Stranger Things, but it's going to be something completely new, and I'm here for it. There's also going to be an animated series of Stranger Things, which I think they said is adventures, stuff that happens between seasons 2 and 3, I believe. Somewhere, but there's going to be animated season, so I'm excited for that. You kind of get to go back and revisit it in an animated way, which I'm excited about. But and then the last thing moving forward was the thing going around that the following week there was this whole conspiracy. I have no idea where the fuck this came from, but there was this whole thing that there was going to be a secret episode 9 showing that the ending you saw wasn't real, and they were really still stuck in Henry's memories and Vecna's minds, and he's still controlling everything, and the Mind Flayer's still alive. He's still alive. I'm just like, why would you do that? People were really convinced that this episode was going to happen. I kept telling my daughter, "Did you see about that special episode?" Just to make her mad. I was like, "There's no fucking special episode. There's no way." Because if they did that, no, I wouldn't like that. That ending, no, fuck that shit. The ending we got it felt complete. It's over. You didn't need no secret episode. I don't know where the fuck the conspiracy came from that this shit was going to happen. All I know is they said it was going to happen on this day at this time, and I remember reading the next day that Netflix crashed because everybody was trying to get on it to see this secret episode that didn't happen. That's funny to me. But, oh my God. Oh, that's funny. Just a few more things to add. I'm going to get out your hair and let you enjoy the rest of your Monday. But, I will say this. Sometimes these shows don't get it right. They don't stick the landing. This one did. It got it right. It got it right at the end. It really did. It really got it right. They all got their endings they deserve. They got their final walk off, their whatever you call it, their curtain call. They got their curtain call. Everybody got their curtain call that was supposed to. It fucking was emotional. It hurt. You healed. You saw that they're gonna be all right. And they did a goodbye the right way. They really did. Everybody got their final curtain call. And I gotta give a round of applause to the way they did it. And I loved every bit of it. I give it 2 thumbs up, 4 out of 4. It was a beautiful episode. It was a great show. I enjoyed every bit of it. And I'm sad that it's gone, but I'm excited for the animated series, and I'm excited to see what this new spin-off show is going to look like. But with that said, thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and catch me next time on the next episode, which we will be talking about what's wrong with sports takes and why they're so lazy in this day and age. Until next time, I'm out. Peace. Let's get it. Gotta get out of here. Gotta go do some other work. Josh Allen is not him. Goodbye.